Let's go. Digital forensics analyst. No, digital forensics analyst. I'm interested in the position because it is offering fundamental training in the field that I've been particularly passionate about for a number of years now. So I believe this will give me some very good exposure to a number of industry-specific tools and domains. And I believe that this team is large enough that I'll be able to have some very helpful mentoring. What do you mean by a business need? Sure, I'll use some uni tasks that I've done previously as an example for um, times where I had to use a number of different technology platforms to form a solution to a business need. Yeah, so I've had to do this multiple times actually. For my digital forensics unit, there were a number of instances where we were investigating a laptop. And so we would need to take an image of the laptop first. So that's one technology. And then from there, we would use something like autopsy to investigate the image. So that's another technology there. Sometimes we were extracting copies of evidence off of that image, and then you would explore maybe the hex values or something like that. So you need a hex editor. You could also use something like steganography tools. And the whole idea behind it is sort of just trying to paint a picture for the case that you're investigating, seeing if you can understand why things are the way they are and why the evidence is presenting itself the way that it is. For adapting to new technologies, a large part of it is sort of trying to understand if I've used a tool like this, or so that I have, some previous experience with how they work, regardless of whether or not I have. Anytime I'm adopting a new technology, the idea is to understand what you're trying to do with the tool, if the tool is actually capable of what you want it to do, how the tool works and how it's going to do that, and if you can give it the right sort of data that it needs to do what you're trying to get it to do. I would say one of the easiest ways to reduce sort of friction with adopting a new tool or technology is to look at the documentation first. Now, often a lot of these tools and technologies will work rather similarly, so you can begin there and then begin playing around with it. And really, obviously, it's just actually sort of using it and breaking it and seeing what it's doing and how it's doing it, and then that's one of the fastest way to sort of get over the learning humps. Well, a complex project, or planning a complex project anyway, is just going to be an arbitrary number of steps. So there'll be sequential steps that you'll need to take. For me, every single one of my uni projects requires some degree of planning. For complex projects, I would sort of say this is referring more to maybe like a team-based environment where there's a number of dependencies and some of it's out of your control. So for me, to make sure that it's going to progress according to plan, well, the plan would start before any work has started. We would delegate roles between each team member. We would have check-ins to see how each member's going with the tasks that they've been assigned. And we use, or I've opted in the past to use at least anyway, written communication, because that gives people an opportunity to respond to the message when they're available and when they can. And I feel it provides a written snapshot of all the information that you need to provide them with about the problem. The planning begins before any of the work on the project actually starts. So you need to be going in there with a plan, and the plan should be at least fleshed out for the entire project, or as much of the project as you can. Sometimes you'll need, sort of play parts of it by ear, but for the most part, the planning should begin and be done with before the project work actually starts. Tools and inputs. For tools and inputs, I kind of prefer an informal process because I still believe that that's significantly more flexible than any other sort of tool available on the market. We have been required by certain courses to use tools like Trello boards or planning events like that, PowerPoints and roadmaps and things like this. But for my personal preference, it would be Microsoft Teams, and we would create a channel. The task sheet would get pinned to the top of the channel, and then from there we would delegate some roles. And we'd have like little weekly meetings and little just informal messages just to keep track of all our progress like that. For the most part, it would be written messages. This gives you the chance to give as much context in a message as you can without missing anything, because you can edit it before you've sent it to the person. And then whenever they're available to, they can read that message and they have all that information as well as timestamps and things like that. So my personal preference is a written message. Calls are good if you can arrange for people to meet all at the same time. It's a little bit hard with people working and studying. It would probably be more successful in the real world at an actual job, but in a university context, I prefer a written message on Microsoft Teams.